Hi Gemini, welcome to your reading. Today we're going to talk about your specific sign in the part 1 of the video, the link of which is in the comments as well as in the details section. We walked you through what is going to happen over the course of next 2 weeks. The new moon happening in your house of career would be panning out over the course of next 2 weeks. We would be having Neptune, the ruler of your house of career, going retrograde from 25th of June, when some of the new career beginnings that you're having right now, they will undergo some amount of shift and change and some realizations which will require you to release certain things that are not feasible in that. And then in 2022, we will have Jupiter and Neptune meet together in your house of career at the very same point on 12th of April 2022, and they would expand that new beginning after you have gone through some process of revision, some process of realizing what is realistic, what is not realistic, and going through some amount of embellishments that Neptune comes with respect to media, with respect to the way it looks, and with respect to the intention behind this new beginning in your career. Gemini, this is a very, very critical year for you. We have North Node or Rahu in your sign after 19 years. That's the time when we walk on our life path. We walk on the path that we were born here to essentially pursue. In the process of doing that, when you have a new moon and focus of planets on your house of career, this would be the right time to seed something new that will become more expansive as we progress towards 2022. It's the time when you would be focused on your career, on your life path, on sort of what kind of authority you have in life. It is not just career, but even in your personal life. What kind of authority as a parent, as a wife, as a husband, as your key relationships, what is your leadership style, both in your domestic activities as well as in your professional activities, will come into focus. And this is the time to set a new course in both of them. We have Neptune, the planet of higher octave of love, in your house of career. It has been there since 2012. When Neptune comes in our house of career, there's some amount of confusion about life path. We don't know where we're supposed to go. But Neptune leads us to the most authentic place that is closest to our soul's purpose when it's here. It softens our boundaries. Previously hard boundaries, they are given in. So if there was a thought process, this is what I'm supposed to do in my career, you might have already gone through that process in the last couple of years to release something in your career, especially if you have planets in the early degree of Gemini, so before 20 degree. So if you're a Gemini sun born before 12th or 14th of June, you might have already gone through this process of going through different paths, realizing which one is mine, delusional in possibly an old one, feeling dissatisfied with it, and then moving towards a different one. The purpose of Neptune over here is to dissolve the ego so we can walk a path that is more authentic to us. There is some amount of uneasiness that comes with it, of not knowing what we are supposed to do. But the whole idea is to slowly dislodge what is not real. The attitudes, the perception, the way people look at you is supposed to shift as well, because this is our visible house, how we are visible to the others. And in the process of that, how you connect with others, what kind of people you connect with, is also supposed to change. The career path is supposed to be same as life path when this happens. It's supposed to be closer to spirit. It's supposed to have a true inspiration behind it. We are also required to have faith in our path. Pursue it's sort of with a dreamy quality, with a hope around it. And to some extent, we can get idealistic here. We can get idealistic about what we are supposed to do. And when Neptune goes retrograde on these very degree between June to December, there will be some of those fantasies, some of those unrealistic expectations, which will come for reckoning, which will come for dislodging, because there are certain perceptions and attitudes which may not be authentic, and they come with Neptune, because Neptune creates a lot of blind spots which are there. And as I mentioned in the part one of the video, which I will really recommend you to watch because it's very pertinent to you, considering this aspect and this new moon is activating a critical part of your chart, your career part, the way you're supposed to move forward. I've spoken about it in detail in that the whole purpose of this going back and forth is initially you're supposed to have blind faith. You're supposed to have that kind of faith if you want to truly pursue something. You have to have a little bit of faith if you're going to walk on clouds, if you're going to do something that you have never done before. So there will, of course, be a few blind spots. And those blind spots don't come out in the open at this time. There will be some things which look too good to be true, which you need to be careful about. There could be people coming in your career who could be deceptive. There could be authority figures. There could be business heads. There could be your bosses. There could be some amount of projection of image that is happening which may not be real. Similarly, an opportunity, a business plan that is presenting to yourself could have certain gaps, but it's not the time to gun down the inspiration. It's the time to pursue that, move forward, and during the course, the right time will come to move back and see if there are things that we have overlooked at this stage. But be careful of certain people who are coming with not so good intention during this time. You will find some of those coming in your presence, especially when it comes to authority figures, when it comes to career, when it comes to even mentors of some sorts. You can be very impressionable at this time. We don't know what's real, what's ideal. Similarly, as I mentioned in the part one, it's okay to feel misunderstood. Sometimes when we are walking a path that others have not walked before, and your own vision and imagination is not yet firmed up, other people might be difficult to come along in that journey. They may not yet understand where you're coming from. You could have a brilliant idea, you could have an innovative idea, but you are also learning to express your ideas. It's new language to you as well. So it might take time, some amount of going back and forth to understand how to inspire people about it. And Neptune over here makes you that inspirational figure, makes you that figure who would be idolized, who would be looked forward by other people. Neptune is a very glam planet of some sorts. Most of the cinema is one attachment, arts and camera and media is of course one attachment to Neptune. So your career would involve some of that, but there's, on a visceral level, there is some amount of being idolized by others is very Neptunian quality. You would see this in the artist. Neptune is a is a planet that is attached with artists in the industry. So they're idolized for their philosophy, for what they stand for. JFK, Karl Marx, they had Neptune in their 10th house like you do right now. But there's a need to give up some of our old identity to get there. So Neptune will slowly chip away some of the old rough edges, will take away some of the old notions you had about your own life and about what you're supposed to do. And it will bring about beauty. It will bring about a new style. It will bring about a little bit of glamour. It will bring about your spirituality, your faith in life. And that will be an important muscle to develop during this time. The careers that are normally involved when Neptune is over here, they are not very clear. They may not exist right now, those careers. They are the careers which don't have boundaries right now, and you're creating a boundary around it. They could be in the field of writing, advertisement, service and healing, life coach, telepathy, theater, inspirational speaker, art, music, drama, creative fields that involve helping large set of population in a very selfless manner. It could involve some amount of philanthropy. It could involve film, media, understanding what people are thinking and getting into their psyche to some extent, understanding people, understanding what they need, understanding them and helping them in some ways on the basis of knowing what they need. And if the work is not inspirational or all absorbing, when Neptune is over here, it won't hold you. You sort of have a very high ethic code, and you're required to have a very high ethic code when Neptune is here. You sort of have to, you sort of get very low boundaries with what you're doing. It becomes part of who you are as a person. The work becomes an extension of your soul to some extent. What makes you feel good? What makes you feel helpful to others? What makes you feel that you're part of a bigger universe in some way? And that brings out the best part of you. That brings out that authentic expression that Neptune over here is trying to bring out to others. There will be no deception and no guard. In some ways, we are in the spotlight, and the boundaries, the shell that sometimes people have around them, they are dropped over here. And being in some ways of service to the world enhances your career path. Being of spiritual support to, or actual support to, a large set of people in some ways, it enhances your qualities. That's why when Neptune is here, there is this urge to do something beyond mundane. Urge to do something that helps humanity, that brings value to humanity, that sort of there's a desire to be of service. But when you have this idealistic goals, there are a lot of people you would attract who would look to take advantage of you in some ways, because Neptune makes us very open and generous at this time. So we have to be on the lookout for. We will have Mercury and Neptune together on 29th of March. That is a day before or a day after that. You want to be a little bit careful about what is being said, what is being signed. If there is a financial agreement which is being considered, you want to be a little bit careful. This whole month is under the Neptune influence. We are in the phase of this unrealistic expectation, but at the same time, hope and dreams, high hope and vision and optimism about the future is very well embedded in this month. And there's a purpose to that, because it helps us move to the next level. It helps us do the things we have not done before. Dreamers and visions have a place in the world, and you definitely have that is much needed for you right now to get out of the old phase to move to a new one. But in the process of that, you want to be a little bit careful of what is being signed, what is being promised, what is being overpromised, especially right about now, as well as especially around 29th of March. What will happen around 29th of March is also that on 26th of March, you will have Mars in your sign along with Rahu. When Mars and Rahu come together, we become daredevil. We don't see boundaries. We don't see boundaries of our own physical limits. We don't see boundaries of what can be done. And that is again excellent, because we can actually do things, physically do a lot of things that we have not been able to do before. It gives us great strength, fearless strength. We can act on projects that pave our life destiny path when this happens. It's once in 18 or 19 years that this aspect happens in your sign. You must take advantage of that. You'll start feeling it from 21st of March itself. A lot of energy comes back in body when that happens. Physically, you have a lot of energy. It's like a horse's aspect. You can do so much work. You can get so much work done between 21st of March to 31st of March. You wouldn't be able to do it before, but it can be very impulsive. It can be reckless. We have to channel this immense energy Instead of using it for any conflicts, use it for words that have power and force to make a change. Use it for intellect at work. The archetype of Gemini is all about using our practical mind to acquire skills, to say the right things, and your words are going to be having a lot of impact. Written or spoken words from Gemini would have karmic impact. It's almost like the way you think, the way you talk is how the destiny pans out. You have a lot of power in your words. So use that wisely. I would suggest around 26th of March especially, but you'll start feeling it from 21st of March when Mars is going out of bound. When Mars in your sign goes out of bound, we know no boundaries. Our own limitations are removed at that time. So we'll do a lot of things which will be out of our character, which will be something, which we haven't dared before to do. We will initiate projects. It's the right time to initiate a new phase in your career. It's the right time to take certain bold steps. But you want to be ready that between June to, especially around June, that some of the modifications will come true. There will be blind spots that we will be missing right now. Sometimes it's important to get things off the ground versus nitpicking at this stage. So you got to get some things off the ground at this time. And then in 2022, this very project, this very new start becomes the new source of hope, the new source of ideal career moving forward. There will be a new cycle starting from April of 2022 when you have gone through this revision and finalization, when it starts growing. Jupiter will expand it, will make it more abundant, will make it more impactful when it joins Neptune in April of 2022. So we have a lot to look forward to. Gemini, this is happening. This aspect is happening at 23 degree of Pisces. That is for you around, so if you have planets around 23 degree of Gemini, this is going to be most impactful for you. That is around 14th of June born if you're a Gemini sun. I would suggest if you are born around 14th of June to be physically a little bit careful. Physically, Neptune lowers our physical immunity as well, because you sort of are supposed to absorb a lot of elements from your surrounding. You are like a sponge, absorbing different energies, absorbing different attitudes, absorbing different knowledge from your surroundings, but at the same time we can absorb a lot of negative vibes as well. So if you have planets around 23 degree of Gemini, that is around 14th of June born, it doesn't matter you're a Gemini sun, moon or rising, you want to be a little bit physically sensitive. You want to be careful to not be around people who usually sap your energies. You generally shouldn't be around them, but it makes you very sensitive to them at this point in time. So be careful of that and keep a little bit of taking vitamins if you need any, just to be physically in a stronger state at this time, because Neptune can cause a lot of confusion. It feels almost that we can feel ungrounded in some ways when Neptune is here. And when Mars and Rahu will meet, that is happening around 13 degree of Gemini, which is around, I think, that will be around 4th or 5th of June born. So early first week of June born if you are. When Mars and Rahu get together, you want to be physically a little bit careful. We can get very rash in driving, or with even in general for you, though that's sort of a time when our devices can get hacked, or we can have some encroachment. Mars's physical force getting a crack on your screen on your devices or something. You want to be a little bit careful of that around 26th of March, even a couple of days before and after, especially end of March. You want to be a little bit careful, especially 13 degree Gemini, which is the first week of June born. So that's what I have for you. Fabulous time, Gemini. Good luck for whatever you're starting. Good luck if you're still figuring out what to begin. This is the time to do it. Neptune is going to take away anyways whatever is unrealistic or not real or not your path in some ways this year. So this year is very important to get clarity on where we are going as well. And then in 2022, we expand it all with Jupiter coming over here. Once in 13 years, Jupiter comes in your career house, and it's starting. In fact, you'll see a preview between May to June when Jupiter will just first 2 degrees it will dip into your house of career. Between mid of May to end of July, you'll see a little bit of preview of how big can that get, how can we expand this further. So good luck for that. Looking forward to it. I'll see you in the next video now.